Today we're going to discuss about something that when others hear about it, they get so mad about it. Some feel the weight of it each and every single month, and others have no idea what it actually means. So in this video, we're going to discuss about black tax. This is something that affects most Africans, and we want to really understand what we are missing about it. And one thing we should be able to know is that black tax, some see it as a curse and some see it as a blessing. So let's get started and see what it really means. So the first question that we need to ask ourselves first is, what is black tax? So black tax is mostly considered to be like a financial responsibility of individuals to support their families back home while they try to build their own lives. So what normally happens is that when somebody has probably made it and they have achieved a certain level of success, of course, financially, they're required to support people back home. Of course, we're talking about parents and fellow siblings and even relatives. So it's normally about sending financial support. It can also be emotional support. So it's a kind of responsibility that somebody is entitled to after they have achieved certain level of success. So basically, black tax is involved in a series of generation whereby a lot of families are struggling and there is a lot of poverty, there's a lot of survival, and all that burden is put across the next person who achieved a certain level of success. So in order to break the struggle, the poverty, and the survival, people are trying so hard to achieve financial success so that they can break this cycle, because black tax is just basically a cycle whereby a series of generation have not achieved financial freedom. So each and every coming generation, they go through a lot trying to break that cycle. So when somebody gets a job, their paycheck is no longer theirs. It's a paycheck that is required to support the person. It's required to support the family. Of course, we're talking about the siblings, the father, the mother, the relatives, the grandparents. So it's all about taking care of your siblings' school fees, paying for your parents' medical services, paying for their rent, whether it's some supporting the funeral or any financial requirement. That burden is upon that person who has gotten at that particular job. And this is something that has been in the African culture for quite some time, because most families have not yet made it, and hence they try to educate a single person, and then once that person is educated, is expected to educate others and also to bring some financial freedom in that particular family. It's all about generation. So black tax is, I believe, it's something that has been there since the beginning. It did not start the other day, because a lot of families, as I have said, they're trying to raise some generational wealth. So if one generation manages to achieve that financial freedom, then at that point it's going to help the rest of the coming generation. So the main goal will be to maintain that financial freedom. But if a family has not achieved that financial freedom, of course it is through inheritance, investments, savings, then the generation will continue to suffer. This generation will raise up a poor generation, a struggling generation, and the cycle continues. So uh, the one person who manages to get even the little financial breakthrough is basically expected to break that cycle and help the rest of the generation. So the problem with black tax is that it's so heavy on that particular person who has gotten their job. assuming that it's somebody who's probably between their 20s and 30s, and they have just gotten their first job. Of course, they want to buy a house, maybe buy land, invest, make investments. But what will happen is this person has to balance between building their future and helping their generation. That's how heavy black tax is. So you can maybe see somebody could be sending even 40% of their income. It goes back home to support the family. That's how dangerous it is, because that, you know, this person, the chances of this person maybe trying to break that cycle is very minimal, because at the end of the day, the small paycheck the person is getting is going to be split between building the future and helping the family at home. And of course, so we've talked about such necessities like food, uh, shelter, clothing, and everything else. So they have, it has made people to become some kind of slaves, if I might call it that, because you're working for two lives. You're working for their life and they're working for their family life. So it builds a lot of pressure among the person involved. So what normally happens is it ends up uh, slowing down the success of the future generations, because of course most of this money ends up being spent on things that are required each and every single day. And of course nobody wants to be in such a position. Of course everybody wants to be in a position whereby they can support their family and they can also support their dreams and their future. So it's just basically life. And one thing I have to put across is the fact that I believe that uh, no parents want to depend on their children. That is my belief, because as a parent, maybe as a future parent, I don't want to depend entirely on my children. But due to that, uh, uh, life happens, because you plan something and it doesn't go as you had planned it, because life just happens. So due to that, most people maybe see their parents or their siblings as a burden. But I believe there is no single parent who is alive or dead that wants to depend on their kids. They want to educate the kids. They just go on living their lives, but then after achieving their success, they just stay wherever they were, and they just be coming to say hi to their parents. And I believe that's what most parents want. But now what normally happens is life do happen, okay, jobs may end, savings may dry up, health may decline. And as you all know, that health is a serious issue, because it takes so much finances, and due to that we may find people using up their savings in order to maybe take care of a certain health condition, because as you all know, surgeries do happen, maybe diabetes or anything. Those things require a lot of finances, okay. So once they happen, the families get in trouble, the parents get in trouble, and at the end of the day, since they cannot afford to take care of that particular bill, then they are forced to depend on their kid. So this is a disclaimer. I believe that no parent want to depend on their kid. Life just happens and people end up depending on their son or daughter's paycheck. Okay? So most parents don't want to give. They don't want to take, they want to give. Okay? Everybody wants to give, but life happens. So don't blame them. It's not their will. Believe that they have good will. So when the parents are facing such issues, and whereby they cannot maybe take care of that particular bill, what normally happens is that they're going to depend entirely on their kid to take care of that particular bill, to pay for that particular house, to pay for all the expenses, because maybe a disease has come, there's been a health issue has come up, savings has happened, businesses collapse, jobs have disappeared. Okay, so once all these factors or any of them has happened, the parent now has to depend on the kid. So the question is, how are we able to break this particular cycle? Okay, how do we break the cycle of maybe this continuous struggle between one generation to another, because when you don't break the cycle, it will just keep on moving from one generation to another. Of course, there are a lot of issues we can discuss, like financial literacy. We can also talk about maybe a family can sit down and have a conversation. Are you going to invest this money? Are you going to they just come up together, maybe form a particular business, okay, so that you can be able to continue the future generation. Families can do that. Of course, now it depends on the particular family that you're going to engage in. And then we have maybe the community solutions, whereby people can join savings group. Of course, in Kenya we have the SACCOs. They can join chamas, they can join investments. These community solutions help boost the family, because the goal here is that you are in this particular generation. This is your current generation. You have to break that cycle. How? Now you join such kind of things, family conversations. You can maybe do community solutions such as savings group, chamas, joint investments. So the goal of this is to build generational wealth. And I normally say that such a thing is a very heavy task. Okay, it's a very heavy task. So don't view it as a sprint. This is a marathon. Of course, in Africa it's a different case, and yeah, it's a totally different case, because we have people who are building generational wealth but using their own means. But as for the rest of us, we just have to try whatever we can, so that we can be able to build generational wealth for our kids and for our grandkids, right? So here's my perspective. People often consider black tax to be a curse, okay, because it takes away their paycheck, it affects their future, it affects a lot of things. But I don't want you to view it as a curse. I want you to think it in this perspective. You are a parent, okay, assuming that maybe you're a parent right now, and you have kids, you have maybe taken them to school and they have jobs and so on. You have a very stable source of income, and then life happens, okay, that particular business collapses, all the finances, maybe you have some legal issues, things just happen, and you just lose all the things that you have taken your entire life to build. What will be your next what are you going to depend on next? Okay, remember you have kids, so chances are you're going to start depending on your kids, because that is your next safety net, right? And as a parent at that point, you never viewed that particular angle, because you already know that you're financially stable and so on, but you have lost all those things you were depending on earlier. What happens next? Okay, or maybe you're a parent and you have kids, you take them to school, and they are successful, and everything else, health issues happen. Okay, you need surgeries, you need to go for dialysis, and many other health issues. Such factors are what is really pulling people down and making parents start depending on their kids, because we need somebody to stand in the gap. Okay, and the only person who can stand in the gap is somebody who has that particular position, that is financial position. No matter how little they are, it is, they are dependent, they are depending, the parents are depending on you to take care of them. So in some way it's a form of responsibility, and it's some kind of culture that has been set up in our African society, and a lot of people believe that they see it as a blessing, because it's a way to maybe pay back. Because I normally say that in life, it's a cycle. Okay? I normally say it's a normal curve. You're born, you grow up to be an adult, and then once you have matured, now there's a decline stage whereby you're getting into old age. Now when you are young, you entirely depend on your parent, okay, until you are maybe 18 plus or something. And then once you are able to achieve that, you will definitely get old, okay. And at your old age, I know some people say maybe financial, of course it's important, but then at the end of the day, you'll still depend on your kids, because you will get old, and at that point, of course, you'll have money, but that is not going to be the main issue for you. Main issue will be you need human assistance. And who's going to be the human assistants? Your kids. Okay, so when you're young, you depend on your parent, and when you get old, you depend on your kids. It's a cycle of humans. Okay, so I normally say that when you're helping, take it as a form of responsibility, and of course, you should not kill yourself for it, right? So you should look at your ability. So considering your ability, now you help depending on your ability. So next time when you hear about black tax, don't think of it as a cultural nonsense, or don't think of it as a curse. Think of it in a deeper perspective. It's history, it's survival, it's sacrifice. Okay, and it's a form of motivation to help us build systems that are going to create wealth for the coming fourth or sixth generation. All right, so when you talk about black tax, I want to request you to think about it, to talk about it, and share this message, because someone out there is carrying this burden silently and they need a form of motivation. Thank you guys, and see you in the next video.